Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Immigrant Blueprint, where we break down all things immigration law to help you navigate the process in confidence. Today, we're diving into a topic that many of you have been asking about, and it's how to prepare for the USCIS interview. Whether you're applying for your green card or your citizenship or another immigration benefit, the interview can serve as a very nerve-wracking experience. But don't worry, I've got you covered today. And if you stick around, we will go over what to expect, how to prepare with your documents, and some common questions that you may face. Stay tuned. Okay, let's jump right in. So exactly what happens during a USCIS interview? When you receive your interview notice from USCIS, it means that you're almost at the finish line. And the interview is typically going to be an in-person meeting where USCIS officers review your application and ask questions to confirm the details. This interview can cover a variety of immigration benefits, whether it's for a family-based green card, adjustment of status, or naturalization. The interviews usually last about 30 minutes to an hour, but it all depends on the complexity of your case. Now, the goal of the interview is simple. It's to make sure that everything on your application is accurate and that you qualify for the benefit that you are applying for. All right, so how do you make sure that you're fully prepared? Well, first off, you want to have your documents, right? Being organized is absolutely a key factor when you're going to the interview. You'll need to bring your original documents and copies of anything that you submitted as supporting documents for your application. And this includes your government issued IDs, like your passport or driver's license, your USCIS interview notice, and any communication that you've had with USCIS. You want to bring copies of that, so your receipt notices, originals of all the documents that you submitted with your application. So if you sent in a birth certificate or marriage certificate, you want to bring the original copy. You also want to bring proof of your current immigration status. So this could be your I-94, your visa, or your green card. And depending on the type of case, you also want to bring copies of financial documents like your tax returns, especially when it's regarding family-based or marriage-based cases. So you want to make sure that you carefully read the interview notice so that you know exactly what to bring. And if you're missing anything, the officer might reschedule the interview, but you want to make sure that you come with everything because you don't want to have any delays in your case. Now let's talk about the questions that might be asked of you. And this is going to depend on the type of benefit that you're applying for. But I'm just going to give you a few examples. So for a marriage-based green card, the officer might ask you, how did you and your spouse meet? Or when and where did you get married? What are some of your spouse's hobbies and so forth? If you are interviewing for naturalization, which is when you're applying for citizenship, you're going to probably get questions such as, why do you want to become a US citizen? What are the principles of the US Constitution? Who is the current president? And also, don't forget that if you're applying for naturalization, you'll also need to pass the civics test and demonstrate that you are able to speak basic English, all right? So you want to prepare for that. And finally, for adjustment of status in green card application cases, you might get questions like, have you ever worked in the US without authorization? Have you ever been arrested or convicted of a crime? So you want to be ready for questions that are specific to your case. And as always, you want to be honest because honesty is the best policy. Okay. Now, let's talk about another very important process when preparing for the interview with USCIS, and I call this mental preparation. It's completely normal to feel nervous before an interview, because this is a very important step in many people's lives. So that's a natural feeling. But I want to give you a few tips that will help you keep yourself calm and collected when you're preparing for your USCIS interview. So the first thing is you want to practice answering questions ahead of time. And you can do this with a friend, a family member, or even your attorney. You want to make sure that you are honest, answering questions honestly, and provide clear responses. If you don't know the answer to something, it's okay to say that. You shouldn't make anything up. And also, if you're nervous, which is fine, try taking deep breaths and remind yourself that this is an interview, right? And it's a chance for you to present your case. So the more prepared you are before going in, the smoother it's going to be. So preparation is very important, and mental preparation is also very important. So what happens after the interview? Well, at the end of the interview, the USCIS officer will either make a decision or they could request for more documents, which is called an RFE, request for evidence. If they need more information, you'll be given a deadline to submit that information. And in some cases, you may be able to get an immediate decision, but typically you'll receive their decision as a written notice in the mail. Okay. Now, again, the interview process with USCIS is very important for many people. And I think it's very important that you understand that preparation is probably the best thing you can do in order to ensure that you have a smooth interview. So if you have an attorney that you're working with, I would recommend working with your attorney to prepare any potential questions that could come up. Going over the application, if you're in a marriage-based green card process with your spouse, and going over all the questions that are in the application, gathering all your documents and making sure you have copies of everything you submitted along with the originals so that you can provide that to the immigration officer during the interview. Okay, well, that's it for today's discussion. I hope that this guide helps you feel more prepared and confident going into your USCIS interview. Remember that being organized and ready is the key. And if you have any more questions, you can also feel free to reach out to me. You can call my office. We have a blog on our website where we provide more tips and guides on different immigration processes. And as always, if you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and share this with others who might find it helpful. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Take care.